Today's episode of Northern Lights is presented by North Star Law Group, a trusted partner to small businesses in Minnesota's legal cannabis industry. Whether you've already applied for a license or are just getting started, attorney Jen Riza and her team can help you build a compliant business, identify and navigate risks, put together an application, and keep you informed about the ever-changing Minnesota cannabis landscape. Are you ready to add North Star to your team? Visit northstarlaw.com/cannabis and let North Star Law Group guide you through confidently opening your doors. Again, that's northstarlaw.com/cannabis. Are you a social equity applicant trying to save money on LED grow lights? Then here's some good news for you. You could get up to 75% off your lighting project, covered entirely by rebates, when you team up with a local nonprofit, Center for Energy and Environment. Since 2000, CEE has provided free energy consulting to Xcel Energy customers throughout Minnesota. Their team of lighting experts will help you get the highest rebates possible and take care of the paperwork so you don't have to. Starting a grow operation can be overwhelming, so take advantage of this free support from CEE. Go to mncee.org/GrowLED to sign up for your free consultation and find out how much you can save with lighting rebates. Again, that's mncee.org/GrowLED. Go get signed up today. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Northern Lights. I'm your host, Tanner, joined today by Steve and Jordan. Hey there, guys.
Hey, boys.
Hey, Tanner. Hey, Jordan. How you guys doing today?
Doing well. Another Friday in the studio. It's getting colder out. It's getting darker out earlier, but happy to be here at the Seed and Sesh.
Yeah. Shout out to Payne Avenue. We're out here in East St. Paul, and big ups to the Seed and the Sesh. Come get your drinks. Come get your raffle tickets. It's an exciting time. It's the holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got an action-packed episode today. We're going to be talking about the news in just a couple of minutes here. A little bit later, we've got an interview of sorts, an extended Tanner's Trip tasting, if you will, with Sam Milstein himself. I'm so excited. It was a fun time.
Yeah.
We filled this table with hash. We gave some samples. We talked about it. So stick around. You can listen to that all the way through. And then, of course, at the end, we've got our high note that we're going to be doing. And it's a new month. So Natural Harvest is dropping a new seed for their subscription. So stick around and you can hear what that is and how to sign up for that.
Awesome. Yeah, shout out to Natural Harvest, the subscription seed box. Great idea for the holidays. And that was a marathon. That was a marathon with Milstein.
Yeah. All right. Well, so before we jump into any of that, though, we've got some housekeeping that we got to talk about first. We are throwing a party. We talked about it on our last episode. We're getting closer to the date.
Yes.
And people can still sign up for it. Let's run down. Steve, when is our party?
It's 12/20, December 20th. It's like right before the holidays. It's before you've got a ton of commitments, right? Mm-hmm. New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, Christmas falling right in the middle of the week. This is Friday, December 20th.
Bingo. So it's coming right before the holidays, a wonderful way to sort of begin that wind up, if you will, of the holiday season. 4 to 8 p.m., people can come and hang out here at the Seed and Sesh.
Yeah, Dabbler Depot, 951 Payne Avenue. We're going to be entering in on the 949 Payne Avenue. That's the store side where you can get drinks. Make sure to support the Dabbler Depot. Come into the Sesh side. That's 951. That's where we'll have vendors. It's looking like we'll have 5 or 6 vendors. King Bee, Moonlight, Natural Harvest, of course, our OGs like North Star Law Group and Union Bank and Trust. Plus, Dabbler Depot's got some tricks up their sleeve. So thanks to Kale and the whole team at Dabbler Depot for allowing us to host our holiday party.
I dig it. And right in front of us, on the table, between us, I guess, is a Storks and Bickel device. Why is that on the table? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Storrs and Bickel, big supporter of the work that we're doing together, and we were given devices, right around August, September, and this is the grand prize. So we're going to be raffling off Storrs and Bickel dryer vaporizers. We've got a Mighty, we've got a Crafty, but the Venti is their highest tier dryer vaporizer model. Super dope product. It heats up really quickly.
Nice. Okay.
And there's a lot of control with like the airflow with the Venti device.
Sweet. Well, never been disappointed by a Storks and Bickel device.
Yeah. It's got everything the Mighty has and then some.
Very cool. Well, so people can get raffle tickets at here, the Seed and Sesh location.
Yes.
They can get it at the other Dabbler Depot THC location in Minneapolis. Both the Twin Cities got it covered. And then, of course, at the party itself.
Yeah, we'll be opening up the doors at 4 o'clock. We're not recording that day, but we will be kind of throwing a party. So get your tickets. We've got RSVPs going. We've got a lot of people signed up, and we want to see you there. This is our only event, really, that we've hosted in a while, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it will be cool to see, who in the cannabis community comes out for this party, and looking forward to it. It'll be a good time.
Get your RSVPs in on Eventbrite. That's Northern Lights Holiday Party. Simple.
Yeah, we got the episode link in the show notes. You can go click on that, and it will bring you directly to where you can go and register link.
Yeah, thanks to Stores and Pickle.
All right, well, with that, let's jump into the news. Now, we're going to not talk a ton about the lawsuit that I know everyone is thinking, just because there's not a ton of updates on it. Kendrick, Drake, we just don't know exactly where either of those two are at in their lawsuit. So we're not going to have a ton to add on to that one.
Yeah, shout out to Christina Aguilera.
Do we think that song was bought and paid? I mean, I heard allegedly if you asked Siri to play the Drake song, she would play Not Like Us.
Right, the payola involved at the levels of the UMG and the DSPs.
Jordan, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Kendrick Lamar paid all of his fans to just stream his song a bunch?
I don't think he had to.
Why? Because he's not like us?
No, we don't pay for streams.
No, but our streams are going up.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, no, of course, the lawsuit that we're actually talking about, not Kendrick Drake, but is the OCM lawsuit. We don't have any updates because there's not been anything from the OCM or from the courts since our last episode. So we're still just waiting. But we've got a ton of other news that we're going to be digging into that's happened over the past couple of weeks in Minnesota. And the first one is one that, I got to be honest, I'm pretty disappointed to talk about.
Yeah, this dropped November 20-something.
Yep, yeah. Right sort of in the holiday season, as people were going away to Thanksgiving, we got a notice the OCM would not be expanding the medical delivery methods in Minnesota. So let's break down what that means. We talked about this on a past episode. People can go check out that conversation. But what we see here today is that they've opted to not allow medical patients to purchase dry powder vaporizers, infused flower products, or cannabis concentrates.
And that one, the last one, is the one that optimistically a lot of folks like you and I were interested in. Could have swayed the viewpoint on like where I buy my products.
Yeah.
I know that the medical companies were disappointed by this as well.
For sure. I was at a Canna Connect event one time. There was someone who worked for one of the medical companies. And I asked the question, like, why don't they make rosins and other concentrates? Like, that's what I'm looking for as a med patient. And it's really just because Minnesota won't allow them to.
Yeah.
It's not yet an approved delivery method. And what we saw here is that OCM was concerned about and I want to be specific about the phrasing, they're concerned about the increased risk of adverse health effects and of cannabis use disorder from people using higher concentrate of THC products.
I don't necessarily understand.
Yeah.
I think the OCM or the medical marijuana program throughout its existence has struggled to make sense from a cost standpoint in the beginning, with flower not being an option.
Totally. Especially with our medical program being set up, for people who got a referral from their doctor for a variety of different conditions, but also for people that are suffering from pretty significant illnesses. That is there an adverse risk of cannabis use disorder? Maybe. I haven't seen significant studies that show that, but maybe there is. But we're talking about people that are nearing the end stages of their life, that are looking for medication that can help to relieve those symptoms, people that are struggling with a variety of chronic conditions that this legitimately does help with. That is there a risk of use disorder? Maybe, but are they relieving legitimate medical illnesses
through stronger products that have a barrier to get over in order to access those products? Like you still have to do the legwork to get a card. You still have to show up and talk to the store.
Yeah.
There's not like an easy way for you now to get concentrates. I mean, if you're looking at it that way, you're not glass half full looking at cannabis as a medicine.
100%. And I'm especially disappointed because how our med program is set up today is that if you want to go and buy a product, you actually have to first meet with a pharmacist They're going to walk through, what are the available options? What are some of the concerns you should be considering? What are some of the benefits you might find? And so we already have a program in place to make sure that people that are maybe at increased risk to get cannabis use disorder or adverse health events, there's already a mechanism in place to make sure that those people don't get the product. It's the pharmacist. It's like saying we can't legalize opiates because there might be people that take it without needing it, but there's a lot of people that probably do need it. Like it's just such a ass-backwards approach.
I wonder if the OCM just like never saw Dope Sick or heard about the opiate crisis and like understood that drugs can be misutilized, even from doctors.
For sure.
I mean, that's just wild because cannabis is a safer alternative to opiates. I know that there's that swag clothing brand that says "fuck opiates." They make hats and they sell them at shows and things like that. And like, it's true. So this does nobody any good. If you're looking at it from a regulation model, concentrates are now only available in like a handful of places in Minnesota, and then otherwise they're traded and gifted on the underground. Like
for sure.
Like this is a bummer. I mean, you could look at this and say, well, hey, if medical can't sell concentrates early, that's a win for the licensed market that's coming online at some point in the future.
Yeah.
So maybe they're trying to keep balance, but that's not in patients. That's not a patient advocacy standpoint. That's a putting your hand on the scale kind of a move.
The one thing that I point to is maybe like not the silver lining, but perhaps an opportunity that this is better, is they ended their statement by saying the OCM is in the process of enacting new rules that will guide the medical cannabis program into the future. Approving new delivery methods that are impacted by rulemaking now would be premature while the process is underway.
Sure.
So perhaps there will be rules that come out in the future that include cannabis concentrates, that include infused flower, that include other methods for consumption. But as of right now, OCM is saying no.
Mark Dayton is kind of like the George W. Bush of Minnesota.
Yeah. He really, we can point to a lot of people. Paul Gazelka is another good one, as people that stood in the way of legalization, stood in the way of people getting medical access. But what's particularly disappointing about Mark Dayton is he's someone who was on the DFL side. Like he was the DFL governor who looked at the DFL legislature that was trying to enact a medical program and said, I just don't know.
Yeah.
And I think our state as a community, our medical cannabis program as an industry would be so much more ahead of where it's at today had that not been the move by the administration.
More beneficial.
Yeah, for sure. I recall very dearly this card that was left by a cannabis activist that said, "Get well soon," when he was going through surgery. And then it said right below it, "And please legalize medical cannabis." So let's move on to another story here. The OCM, I think, will continue to disappoint when it looks at rolling out the medical program because the medical program is pretty shit.
And that's what I was alluding to, right? Much was decided before the OCM was enacted.
Exactly. But so let's talk about some federal stories because Minnesota, we're at the standstill like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But federally, a lot continues to happen with cannabis. We're recording this right now as MJ BizCon is just wrapping up. National cannabis news is being made. And the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, I didn't forget that this time.
Bingo.
Is giving us some updates on that timeline of when cannabis is going to be rescheduled. This has been the slowest moving story. I remember having Jen on the podcast when we were audio only and talking about like, what could this mean if they decide to make this change?
Yes.
Now here we are, 2 years later, just about.
Yes.
And now we're getting a timeline of when these hearings are going to happen, when this process is really going to move forward. And we now know that the first part of those hearings are going to begin January 21st.
Oh, wow. January 21st. Yeah, I got to wait till after Martin Luther King Day for sure.
Yeah, so January 21st all the way through March 6th are going to be the hearings. They're going to have one group, one person testifying every day, sort of sprinkled throughout, really trying to figure out, should cannabis be rescheduled to Schedule 3? Is cannabis an addictive substance? Does it have health benefits Those are the two things that the court is going to have to evaluate.
I wonder how much of a public opinion measure that will have on states and regulators within those states like South Dakota, North Dakota.
For sure.
The judge criticized the DEA's lack of preparedness, noting that it disrupted the progress of the proceedings.
Yeah, so the DEA was asked to prepare a bunch of documents ahead of time to give them over to the court so they could evaluate, what kind of decision-making has been done thus far, what has the DEA, or what kind of things has the DEA been looking at as they've been evaluating building out this proposal, and they just provided nothing. Like the judge was really admonishing them and saying, hey guys, you need to give this to me. He gave them a new deadline saying, hey guys, you basically have like 2 weeks and I really, really need this time. It's a DEA judge. Like he works in the agency and he's pointing to the agency and saying, you guys, you're not doing your homework. So we'll see where this continues to go, but it shows us that we're not going to get any significant action on rescheduling until after March. All of these hearings need to happen. All of these arguments need to be included before that final decision can be made. So the idea that rescheduling was going to happen like right after the election, just wait, it's going to just switch over.
Yes.
Nah, we're going to be waiting a little bit.
It's crazy. Cannabis is still a Schedule I substance.
Yeah, I know. And I sometimes forget about that with all the things that we do and the way that I live my life and the way that my friends live their lives. But federally, all of this is still not okay. Like we live in this made up fantasy world of legalization, which is really nice and cool, but not where we're at federally. Another national news story, not on our show notes, but Texas just announced earlier today as we're recording that they're making steps to ban all hemp-derived THC, total zero THC state. And that has been a state where THCA has just like exploded.
Wow.
And so we as a community,
but they've also adapted the Minnesota model as well. They've really ran with low dose.
They have, but they're looking at banning all THC even in low dose.
Because that's Texas.
Good old Texas.
That's fucking Texas, man.
Yeah. I remember a year ago when I was trying to figure out like, well, what does the national industry look like for cannabis? Sure, we have these beverages here, but where else are people trying to sell them to? And everyone was saying Texas. Texas is where you're looking to go to.
Right.
Who knows?
Granny went to Texas.
Granny went to Texas. Well, let's talk about another granny. No. Let's talk about Biden. So
Hunter or Joe?
Yeah. Oh, let's talk about them both. So we're going to join the chorus of people talking about the hot political gossip of this day, which is that Hunter Biden, the son of the president, has now received a pardon. All Gucci, all Maine, on anything that could have happened for years. Perhaps one of the most sweeping pardons to ever be issued.
You graduated high school 2014?
Yep.
So everything you've done since high school, good or bad, pardoned by the president.
Oh, wow. My entire adult life. But for Biden, wow. So, yeah,
that would be awesome.
That would be pretty chill.
Not that you're in a heap of trouble.
No, but man, like I'll never say no to a pardon. I don't think I did anything wrong, but can't say no to that.
Hey, he's not the only turkey that got pardoned.
I was gonna ask, like, what if Tanner's, rap sheet has at least 5 notable things on it? What are they?
Oh, I don't know if I want to add to this conversation.
Dabs.
Yeah.
More dabs.
See, and that's the thing is it's all cannabis based.
Yeah. No doubt. And shout out to Doc Dabs.
Yeah. And I'll throw this in. Prior to August 1st, when legalization happened, any amount of cannabis concentrate was a felony. Mm-hmm. Any amount. And so was I a felon every single day?
That's what I'm talking about.
Technically, yeah. So I'd love a pardon for that. That'd be pretty chill.
Come on, Joe.
But so the reason
let's get Joe on the podcast.
Joe, come on.
Do you think I've heard that the Democrats are trying to do more like podcast type media?
Right.
I think we got to throw Northern Lights into that ring. If you want to run for governor,
yes,
come on our podcast. I think the next governor of Minnesota should be able to rip a giant dab.
And I'm kidding here, but what if we got Joe Biden and Travis Cullen to sit down on the Northern Lights podcast?
Bingo. So let's transition back because that is why we're talking about this today. We're not a political podcast. We're not here to talk about political news. But the reason that we wanted to talk about this is because we've now had the precedent set of Biden saying, when the law looks like it's potentially wrong, I should use my power to step in and right that.
Yes.
We also exist in a world where Biden has said himself, no one should be in jail for marijuana. And now we're sitting at a point where we're coming into the ending months of Biden being president, and there are nearly 3,000 people in federal prison for cannabis offenses as of today, as we're recording this.
Yes.
He could use that same power, that same grant that he gave to his son to other people for doing activity that today is now legal in many states across our country.
To forever change the trajectory of the cannabis and marijuana industry.
Yeah.
This would allow 3,000 people to go free.
Yeah. I think he could set a precedent. He could make a name for himself. He could, whatever metaphor you want to use here, throw in. I think he could really say, I want to be a president that is about righting wrongs. And this is another opportunity to do that in his last few months in office.
As we learned, though, as the conversation developed locally, the issue comes up when there's other crimes involved with marijuana trafficking, for example.
For sure. Yeah. And that's what continues to get interesting about this is just to sort of not push back, but to say that I think this is a unique opportunity. A lot of those people could qualify for reduced sentences if they had less convictions on their record. Where getting pardoned, getting this removed from that record could be something that would allow them to move closer towards, becoming a part of society again. But I don't disagree with you. There is.
And the war on drugs is a failed war.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be criminalizing people for drugs.
Totally. I saw a wonderful conversation on the Minnesota Trees community coming up again on the podcast where there were a lot of people pushing back on this saying, hey, the case that Travis Cullen posted about, they moved pounds and pounds across state. We shouldn't be, granting clemency to people that did large traffic. We should just sort of grant it to smaller scale. And I hear what you're saying, but I think it comes back to the point of, at the core, the war on cannabis is wrong.
Yes.
And were there people that broke the law in more significant ways than others? For sure, but I only was able to consume cannabis because there were people out there driving across state lines, importing into the country, growing it, processing it, whatever be it.
Upstanding the supply chain.
Exactly. I refer to those people as fighters in the trenches in the war on drugs. And we fucking won. Cannabis is legal, not because the government, was like, hey, this is really cool and we'd love to move forward with this, but because people continued that fight. These people are the reason that we have legalization today. And so I really think, me personally as Tanner Brace, this isn't Minnesota Cannabis College saying this.
Right.
I think Biden should move forward before he gets his time, out of office.
If he's going to impact the Ukrainian war, he should impact the war on drugs as well.
1,000% agree. So come on, Biden. Ben and Jerry's made a great call for this. They used the phrase similar to what you said earlier. This week, President Biden pardoned 2 turkeys and his son. And it's so spot on. If you can pardon 3 turkeys, you should at least pardon some cannabis people as well.
Wow. Bowling for Biden.
Bowling for Biden. Wow. Well, let's be done talking about politics and national news.
Yeah.
Let's be done talking about Minnesota news for today.
Yeah.
We still have some really exciting stuff in this episode, though. We're going to be trying some gummies in just a few minutes here. We're going to be having Sam come in the studio. We're going to be doing some dabs, talking about hash culture, some of the amazing terps that exist out there today. And then coming at the end of today's episode, we got a high note. Yeah, that was so good. I've not seen those fruit buttons before. That was a really neat gummy.
It's shaped like a button.
Yeah.
And it's made of fruit.
Yeah. But don't say anything more. People have to stick around for that segment. Go check it out because, yeah, that's a neat one. All right. Well, let's take a short break here. When we get back, we're going to be having Sam come in the studio, and then we're going to try some edibles.
Mom, can you watch the kids on Friday?
Oh, I forgot to ask Sam how his mom is doing. First mom to make it on the podcast is Sam. So, Sam, if you're listening, get your mom in the studio. All right. We'll be right back.